Hello everyone, very good morning to all of you students. This is Assistant Professor Ishani Trivedi from LG Institute of Engineering and Technology. Now students, you already know that we have been discussing about the basic equipment, that is tractors and bulldozers, on which you can mount your whatsoever excavating equipment or hauling equipment or conveying equipment, right? And then it can move. So basically we are discussing about the basic type of equipment on which you can mount your whatsoever construction activity required particular equipment or blades or bucket or whatsoever. You can say there will be different words for everything. So right now we are discussing about the basic type of equipment, out of which we are going to discuss the last two types today, that is rippers and scrapers, right? Now once we are done with the tractors and bulldozers, which were actually the main basic type of concept, now today we are moving a little forward with rippers and scrapers. Now what is a ripper, right, and what is a scraper? I am going to show you some images over here so that you can watch them and identify that when it is called a ripper and when it is called a scraper, right? The name itself says, what do you mean by a ripper? Ripping. The process of ripping means to tear apart something and break something, right? To rip it off, meaning to tear it, to break it, to destroy it, to remove it, right? So here what we are going to talk about is ripping off rocks. Which rocks? Which are present inside the soil. Why do you need to break them? Because you need to perform the excavation work, you need to perform the leveling work before any construction procedure. So for that you will have to excavate the area, you will have to move the earth, you will have to move the soil. And if you are dealing with the type of the soil where boulders are present, where rocks are present, where gravel is present, then your simple excavator, your simple power shovel is not going to break it. Instead of that you will have to use the equipment called rippers, right? Rippers itself, they are used for ripping the rocks present inside the soil. Ultimately you are excavating the soil, nothing else is very much big over here. So let us talk about the definition, the technical definition regarding the rippers. So it says that equipment which is mounted to a tractor. Now see students, tractor became the basic equipment over here, right? Dozer is also basic equipment. Somehow ultimately you are going to mount everything on a tractor. This is what I was trying to say even in the starting. So again, it is a type of the tractor itself, but here it is an equipment, it is a part, it is a substitute which is mounted to a tractor, and it carries 2 to 4 teeth, meaning sharp blades, right? There will be sharp teeth, sharp blades at the front. It is mounted with 2 to 4 teeth. In general cases it is 3 teeth, but you can also use the equipment with 1 teeth as well. Can you see it in the image over here? The first image, the very first image on your left, you can see that it is mounted with 1 teeth, right? The blade which you can see which is mounted, that is your teeth. We are going to call it as teeth. And that is your example of ripper. So equipment which is mounted to a tractor with 2 to 4 teeth. In general cases we have 3 teeth, and it is used to break up the ground and pull up the roots, right? So we are not only dealing with the boulders or the rocks, we are also dealing with breaking up the roots of the plants which is present inside. So to rip off everything we use the equipment called rippers, right? Loosened material. The loosened material, meaning once you are done with the ripping process, once you have ripped out the soil completely, about which I am also going to show you a video clip today. So once it is done, next when the loosened material, right, once you are going to remove it, once you are going to rip it off, the material will be loosened, and then comes in picture the scrapers, which you can see right in front of you. You can see the scraper which is flashing in front of you in yellow color. So the scrapers, right, it will be having blades at the bottom. You are going to move it on the surface. As you move it on the surface, it is going to collect the soil inside its bucket, and simultaneously once the bucket is full, once it is filled up completely inside, then you can again move it forward and lay all the loosened material collected inside. You can lay it all the material in a uniform thickness on the surface, right? You will have to again level the surface at last, so simultaneously both work can be done with the help of scraper. What is a scraper, right? What is scrap value? We have talked about scraping, right? It means whatever waste is present over there, it is going to scrape it out, it is going to take it inside its bucket. Then ultimately you can perform the work of laying it back by moving it forward in the same track again. That is your scraper. So with the help of rippers, scrapers can be used for stiff clay, for soft rock and other such material. In general cases, you can use it for all type of soil. You can use it for stiff clay, you can use it for rocks as well. You can also use it at places where roots of plants have to be removed, where we are dealing with large spread of roots of trees nearby. Sometimes it also happens that you have to completely uproot a tree when you are excavating or when you are building a structure. So rippers are drawn by tractor and serve as auxiliary instrument for dozers and scrapers, meaning it is a primary equipment, right? Ripper will be primary work doing equipment, and then to clear its mess off, we are going to use the scrapers and dozers. Not just scrapers, dozers can be also used. We have seen bulldozer, it has a bucket in the front, so you can also take the loosened material with the help of that bucket and then lay it back. That work can be done with the help of dozer also, right? So but with the rippers, the output is going to be more and the fuel cost will be reduced. Why this happens? Because with the help of rippers, you will be able to break off the soil very easily as compared to any other type of excavator, right? Now, the depth of rooting, we are going to take into account one thing over here, that the teeth, right? The teeth, how much can it go inside the ground? How much can be the depth of the cut? How much can be the depth of the rooting? So here we have a standard specification. It can vary from 300 mm up to 700 mm. That much depth can be drawn out with the help of a scraper. It can be, with the help of a ripper. It can be more. It depends on the design criteria of what type of equipment you are using, right? Again, I am showing you another image which is of a scraper. Can you see how it is collecting at bottom in the bucket and how it is laying back? You can see how it is laying tracks again. I am going to show you a video clip for this as well so that you will have better understanding. Now let us move forward with the rippers. Now I am going to talk about specific performance of a ripper, right? We are going to talk about performance of a ripper, meaning the rippability of rocks, right? How much amount of rock can you rip it off? What will be the efficiency? What can be the work done? And how much it is going to affect the output of your equipment, of your tractor, of your teeth which is mounted. How many teeth will be required as to 1 or 3 or 4. All those things depends on the rippability of the rock. So here we are discussing about performance of the rippers, that is rippability of the rocks. Let us try to understand, because this is a little bit complicated. So let us try to understand in simple words. So as compared to the past methods, this is obvious thing based on the past where the handwork was performed, where with the help of equipment and tools, that was hammers and chisel, right? All those things were used in the past. But based on comparison in the past, we have come up with more than 50% efficiency and more than 50% output than the past with the help of all these basic equipment. Based on past comparison, we have come up to very much high modern technology where you can use different type of tractors, bulldozers, scraper, ripper. You also have trenching machines, you have power shovels, you have conveying units, you have hauling methods, you have trucks. Right, trucks and tractors are basically the most important for us. So we have got a lot of output based on the past comparison. So now if I talk about the rippability of the rocks, we have to consider the type and density of the rock, right? Before moving earth, before moving any type of soil, it is obviously important for us to determine that what type of rock we are dealing with. So we need to know about the type and density. You can take the soil sample and determine, or also you can perform it on the site as well. Then so if we talk about rocks, right, we have three different types of rocks. We have igneous rock, we have sedimentary, and we have metamorphic rock. So whatever type of rock you are dealing with, right, if you are dealing with igneous rocks, then we have to check for cleavage planes and stratification. Now students, this is a part of a mineralogy. We have studied mineralogy in the past, right? What is stratification or what is stratified layers? Meaning when the rock is deposited in the form of layers. When the rock is deposited in the form of layer, meaning every layer will be having different kind of material, different kind of properties. That is your stratification. And the cleavage planes, right, meaning it is one of the physical properties of the rock minerals, right? If the plane is faulty, if the plane is having cleavages, meaning it is having cracks, then if such faults are present, then it will be favorable to us. Now we are talking about certain factors which has to be discussed when we are talking about the characteristics or the factors which favor the ripping process with the help of a ripper. I think I already talked about certain things, that if you are talking about igneous rock or sedimentary rock, we said that there are certain things which are favorable for us, for the rocks to rip off, for the soil to rip off. So let us study the technical terms, technical statements related to the characteristics which help us to rip off the rocks easily. So now the first which we have is the faults, fractures and joints. Now see students, these terms are related to the mineralogy. These are the physical characteristics of rocks and minerals which you already know. But I also talked about the fractures already when I was discussing about the igneous rock and its cleavage. Meaning if you have a rock which has number of joints and fractures present inside, then ultimately it is going to prove to be a weaker section of rocks, and in such cases if you are dealing with, then it becomes favorable for you to rip that rock off easily. So hence it helps, it favors in the work of a ripper. Next, brittleness and crystalline structure, right? Now if you have a crystalline structure, meaning if I have diamond, right, it is a crystalline structure, then it is brittle from inside. You can break it off easily. Not exactly diamonds, but let us talk about any other crystal or quartz, right? That can be the exact example over here. So such cases where it is a crystalline form, where it is a brittle structure, right, means brittle means it can break it off easily. So if you are dealing with those types of rocks, so also you can say limestone, right, sandstone, which are examples of sedimentary rocks. So you can break them off easily. Next we have is greater degree of weathering, right? What is weathering? Meaning there are two types of actually weathering, physical and chemical weathering of the rocks, which causes the decomposition and deposition of the soil and particles. So if the particular soil or particular rocks have undergone huge degree of weathering, then it is going to be proved to be a weaker form, and hence it becomes favorable for us. Then we have a high degree of lamination and stratification, right? I discussed about this stratification, means it is deposited in layers. So if there is high degree of stratification and the rock formation is such that it is favorable for us. And then we have large grain size, right? It is obvious that the teeth of the ripper is designed to perform for the larger size particles, for the larger boulders, which you will be able to see over here in this video clip as well. So that conditions are favorable for us. Now students, you can see over here a video clip is running. This is for your much better understanding that how a ripper works. What I am talking about right now since last few minutes, then this is how it works. You can see first of all it is a tractor, correct? Second, you can see what type of mounting is given. Crawler mounted is given, right? Here it is not wheel mounted. It is obvious thing that when you talk about dealing with the soil which is having hard boulders and rocks, the crawler mounted is specific proper choice for us. We have discussed about crawler mounted, wheel mounted already. Then you can see the mounted thing is your ripper. You can see it has only one teeth present to it. It is made up of sharp edges, sharp blades. So you can see how it is moving forward and backward and performing the ripping work. It generally rips off the soil. You can see how large boulders have also come out when the ripping process is done. For the one track, you can see how this works. Now I am also showing you another image regarding 3 teeth of rippers, right? Here what you can see is having 3 teeth of ripper. You can use 1, you can use for 3, you can use for 2 to 4 mounted as well, depending on the requirement. But this is how your ripper works, which is right in front of you. Now we have to discuss certain theoretical points. What we have is major development responsible for increased ripping of rocks, right? Now this can also be used for mining purpose, right? Mining is very much having scope these days. It is increasing day by day. Ripping of rocks somehow or the other, right? For mining purpose, for aggregate crushing, for removing the layer of the soil, for various purposes, ripping of rock is becoming popular these days. So we have to study a theoretical regarding that why this development has occurred very much in the present world, because we already know the biggest reason is modernization and technology development, right? Heavier duty vehicles we are manufacturing now. So I think these points you are also able to write down on your own, but let us see what it says. It says availability of heavy and powerful dozers. This is obvious thing. Heavy duty equipment are being manufactured more and more. Improvement in size and performance of rippers, right? There are also many types regarding the rippers. We have impact rippers, which is a special type, because when you're ripping off, it is going to create an impact force on the rocks impact. So to resist this, we have impact rippers. Then better equipment availability for determining the rippability of the rocks, which we discussed that we'll have to always determine that. Improve technology. So next which we are going to discuss, which is in simultaneous with the rippers, is the scrapers, right? Now students, I am showing you a small video clip over here. I will give you the references also, where you can see this. So here how the scraper works, right? Meaning once the work is done by the rippers, once the ripping of the soil is done by the rippers, next comes in picture is the scraper. You can see the equipment right in front of you. First thing, the tractor is the basic equipment, but here the tractor used is having 4 wheels, so it is 4-wheeled equipment, 4-wheel tractor, right? Next, second thing, there are parts regarding the scrapers. There will be inputs, that there will be operations which will be present inside the working chamber. So for this purpose, we require a skilled operator to operate this type of equipment. We require a skilled operator for all types. Now, how this works? Look at the video clip which is running over here. You can see a bucket is attached at the bottom and sharp cutting blades or edges are fitted at the bottom. And when you are going to move this vehicle forward, so with the help of sharp cutting blades present mounted at bottom, it is going to cut the soil, it is going to dig the soil and collect the soil inside the bucket. This becomes your first procedure, that is digging process, right? Second procedure becomes once the bucket is full, right? Once the bucket is filled completely with the soil, now this bucket is going to have various capacity, right, which we will determine in terms of volume. It generally has 3 to 9 meter cube of volume. It varies. So once this work is done, once the bucket is full, you can see how the bucket is opened at bottom, and once the conveying is done, it lays the soil back in terms of leveled surface, in terms of specific thickness. So the 3 operations over here is, first, digging process will be done, cutting will be done. Second, if you want to convey it, right, if you want to take this soil, if you want to convey it, if you want to transport it, then you will take it to the other part of the site. And the third process is dumping, meaning the bucket which will be raised. Once the soil is collected inside the bucket, it will be raised, it will be conveyed, and then the bucket will be opened and the vehicle will move forward. So it is going to lay in terms of uniform thickness all of the soil. It will be dumped. So if you want to remember a scraper, then it is generally done in 3 processes: digging, conveying and dumping. Now not just after performing the ripping work, you can also perform it on the side where you want to carry out the leveling work. So as we discussed already from the video itself, you will be able to write down. We are putting the points over here. We have, it consists of a large bucket. Now this bucket itself is going to be called as a scraper because it scrapes out the soil with the help of blades fitted at the bottom. Its capacity varies from 3 meter cube to 9 meter cube, which I already told you. Then it has a cutting edge at the bottom, which you already saw in the clip which was running. And the depth of cut can be maximum up to 250 mm. So there comes a limitation, right? Next, the movement, the working procedure. The forward movement will be done. With this forward movement, the bucket is going to dig the soil and it is going to collect the soil. Next procedure will be collection of the soil in the bucket and then conveying, and the third procedure will be opening the bottom of the bucket and then dumping the soil. This is your mechanism, which I put it in 3 terms. Now we are going to talk about certain advantages and disadvantages regarding the scrapers. Now by seeing this, some certain things would be coming to your mind, that there can be many pros and cons regarding the same. Obviously all of the equipment come with some or the other advantage and disadvantage. So talking about the classification, we have to just remember, first will be the conventional type of scraper and second will be the self-loading type of scraper, right? We have to remember it will be operated in terms of different types. Its working mechanism will be different, its operating methods will be different. Next, if we talk about advantage and disadvantage, then we can see that, if I want to write it on my own, then I can say that it is most suitable for large area. You can work in larger areas, correct? That point will be there. Then you have to deal with the soil which will be free of rocks and muds, right? You saw the working already right now. So if you are ripping off, this contradicts to ripping process. So once you have ripped off the soil, you will have to first remove the heavy boulders and rocks and then perform with the help of a scraper. Then digging and loading is simultaneously done. That is the main procedure. You will collect it and then you will lay it. Both of the work is done. So it is less time consuming. Efficiency is high for smaller depth cut. It has a limitation of a cut of 250 mm only, and hence there will be a limitation, but efficiency is high for that smaller depth. Suitable for big area, right? And load is discharged in finely controlled layers. This is the most big thing for us. Next, a disadvantage, you are going to contradict the advantages, meaning the equipment is very heavy and large, hence large space is required to operate this. Depth of the cut is small, which we already know. Cannot be used on hard soil directly, that also we know. And it can be used only to cut the ground at bottom. Side cutting means if you want to cut out the trenches, then it is not possible. Okay students, so this covers your rippers and scrapers. Next we will be discussing about excavating equipment. Okay students, have a good day. Thank you.